Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Cool Colas here, bringing to you the hustler's perspective. Hope everybody's having a good day. Just sorry, I wanted to apologize to you all about not being able to have this video out a little bit sooner, but here it is, and I hope you all enjoy what I have to say. Just kind of get into it a little bit. Let's talk about liabilities. I know you all have heard the term before, but really didn't try to dig too deep into it. I mean, I know I haven't, like before, I got into this whole hustler's jackpot thing. But to kind of give you a little bit of details, or at least an intro here, a liability is very important and it affects your everyday life and you don't even know it. And the reason why it's important to know is because liabilities are things that are debts within your life that are actually bringing your income down. So they're basically like expenses that you're going to have to deal with financially. And liabilities are really awful as far as your income and you being able to have enough money for yourself for the month and just in general. And they can like really wear you down. And a lot of times you don't even realize that certain things are liabilities and are weighing you down. So let's kind of get into a little bit of like this misconception that's happened here. So a lot of people have associated some things that are actually liabilities as assets because of how we've been taught and how we've been conditioned and the things that were told to us as we grew up. So to get into it, a lot of liabilities deal in materialistic value more than actual financial value. So it's more of a keeping up with the Joneses type of thing more than it is dealing with actual things that have value that can actually like add financial value to your life so that you're continuing to make money. These things are stealing your money. These things are somewhat of a problem because a lot of times you don't know they are or you think that they're actually an asset. And I'll get into assets a little bit later once I get into a different video here. But I really want to just get into the whole idea of liabilities here because the important thing is that you know like where your money is going and how you're creating things that actually add value to you, and liabilities do nothing but suck the value literally out of your finances. So let's kind of get into some of the examples here. So got a couple little props for you here so you can kind of visualize and get in your mind some of the things that I'm talking about. So let's start with the first thing: credit cards. So this is like a credit card that I have that I am currently at this moment trying to pay down from not knowing that it was actually a liability, and having it when you're younger and thinking that it's going to help you establish credit, and it barely helps you in that way. But we won't even get into that topic right now. We're just gonna focus on the fact that we're talking about why it's a liability. So credit cards are liabilities because a lot of people use them thinking that they can just charge something and then like put it on the card so that they don't have to do anything but pay it off later. Why credit cards are a liability is because they make their money by creating these really high interest rates. And for example, this right here, this is a retail card here. So with retail cards, their interest rates are going to be even higher. Like some of them get as high as like 25 to 30%, like in that range, and that can be a lot of money out of your pocket. And it's to the point where like with credit cards you almost have to well, not almost, you do have to pay over the minimum that they're expecting you to pay in order to be able to pay it off. So credit cards are basically a liability because they offer you convenience in exchange for higher rates that ultimately end up being with you paying more money than you initially would have hoped to. So credit cards a lot of times can put you in a pretty like hard situation, and they're tempting, and people know that they're there, and they go to the store. Like for example, you could go to a let's say you have like a Walmart credit card, just giving you an example. And like everybody loves to go into Walmart and they see hundreds and thousands of different things, food wise and grocery shopping wise, and they're like, oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, and they realize they may go over their budget or not have enough money, and they're just going to charge it to that card. Credit cards are just like that. They're convenience worthy for people who don't have the money. And my point is, if you don't have the money, don't spend it. So why get a credit card to try to pay that off later and then put yourself through hell basically in order to just have a couple more snacks, or to just buy something that you just probably don't even need. A lot of times they're addicting, and people always know that they're available, and they don't really have the self control, and they suffer because of it, because they're always charging their credit cards, and that interest rate is just crazy most of the time. Well, all the time it's crazy. That's essentially how all of these credit cards are, like, companies are making their money, is off of you. You think it's an asset because of the fact that you can just charge something and just do whatever you want, with it, but really it's hurting you, and it's charging you more money than it really, like, should be. Like, you're thinking that you're just paying off all your balance, but no, you're paying off so much more. You're paying your balance, and you're paying off a big portion of your balance in addition as well too. And I say, like, a big portion, and some people are like, oh well, Nick, that's like 20%. Think about how much 20% can be. If you have, let's say, $1,000, 20% of 1,000 is what? $200. So my thing is, you're paying an extra $200 if, let's say, like I said, you have $1,000 somewhere, just that, where, like, it's a balance for you and you need to pay it, like on a credit card or whatever the balance is for. And let's say that someone is telling you, hey, there's a 20% interest rate on this $1,000 balance that you have. That means that you're going to be paying $1,000, and then you're going to be paying $200. Think about everything that you could do with $200. Just think about it. You could invest it. You could use that as something that you can put into again, like, savings in case, like, you have a hard time or something like that. You can pay a couple cell phone bills. Like, if you have, like, a pretty cheap cell phone bill. Some people, they're with Verizon, they're probably paying an arm and a leg. Some people are with, like, T-Mobile or some other, like, company, and they're probably not paying too much, but hey, that's what it is. My point is, you could pay that. You could be paying Michigan insurance. Yes, Michigan insurance is that high. Michigan insurance is, on average, is like $200. So just keep stuff like that in mind. That's an extra $200. I mean, think about it. If it was 10,000, it would be $2,000 for a 20% interest. If it was 100,000, it would be 20,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, folks. If you all don't think it's a lot of money, then hey, like, I guess you're better than me, because you're balling, but you're balling without a mind. Just think about it, though. Like, that, it's definitely a liability. Okay, another thing that's a liability: jewelry, things like this. Now, while they're nice, and while, I mean, I love watches as well too, it's a habit that I've had to break recently. So I myself have been a person who's been into fashion and who's into clothes, and there's nothing wrong with looking nice. And a lot of times it was just, well, not a lot of times, every time it was for me to do it for myself, is because I like to see myself, looking good. I had this philosophy that if you look good, you're going to feel good. But the thing about it is, a lot of the stuff that you're spending money on could be going to something else. It's a liability because there's no value in this. I mean, like, you could pawn it off, but I mean, this watch, I can't get anything for this, and I spent like $70 on this watch. Like, my thing is, like, everybody's like, probably looking at me and they're like, oh, that's only $70. But again, you have to think like a hustler. Think about everything that you can do with $70. Again, you could pay all, if not some, of a phone bill once again with $70. You could put gas in your car, which is another liability we'll kind of get into a little bit here. You could do all types of things with it. You could use that as part of your groceries. Again, you could save that. You can invest that. You don't think that's a lot? Well, I mean, it's better than zero. It's better than being a liability. So that's another thing. Another thing, and I'm gonna bring this up because I'm gonna say clothes, but these, of course, right here are like shoes. But I mean, shoes are like clothing your feet. I mean, like, you can't be walking outside barefoot. But anyways, clothing is also another liability, and that's a liability because it's all about keeping up with the Joneses. It's all about having the latest and greatest looking thing. You have some nice shoes. You have, a nice shirt on, a nice button up. You have a nice tie on. You have these, like, pants on that are really expensive as well too. I mean, to be honest, I mean, again, everybody likes to be able to look good. I think some people do it for the impression of other people. Some people do it for themselves. I was a person who used to buy clothes to be able to, basically dress for myself. And again, I haven't been doing that, as of recent because I wanted to save my money for things that matter, such as investing and being able to put my money aside in order to fund some of my other endeavors and things like that. And I've been putting them away for purposes and things that are going to add value. Stuff like this, like these shoes, which by the way, I love these shoes. They're nice, but I mean, they don't really add value. I mean, yeah, I could sell them back for a couple bucks to a different site or on eBay or whatever it is that platform I'm going to use, but overall they don't really add any value for you. I mean, yeah, someone's going to go ooh Nick, I like those, or cool colas, I like those. Nick's my real name, but cool colas, I like those, or whatever they say, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you get is bragging rights. That's all you get is, your friends and your family and maybe like some random girl or guy or whoever you see off the street, some giving you a compliment or whatever. That's all you get. And if that's your value, then I mean, like, you really don't have a lot of financial self-worth. Sorry. So let's get into some of these bigger liabilities here and things that people think are not liabilities, but they are, and kind of break this mold that has been set for people. So the first thing I kind of want to get into is cars. Now, mind you, I can't sit here and hold a car up in front of you because, I mean, it's a car. But a car is totally and utterly a liability because a lot of people are getting it confused. A lot of people think it's a necessity. A car is not a necessity by any means whatsoever. A car is a liability because it's something that people feel that they need. They think that it's a necessity because they have to go to work and they have to go from place to place. And I get it. Like, if you live in the state of Michigan, whether you're like in Detroit or whether you're in Grand Rapids, like, you're pretty much gonna be dealing with a very bad transit system and a very bad bus system. But I mean, that's there. And in places like Chicago and New York, like, they definitely have a great transit system. So I mean, like, that gives that availability for a person to get to and from work. Now, mind you, a lot of people aren't going to want to do that, and that's okay. But realize that the point of the matter is that the car itself is going to be a liability because it's for comfortability, not because it's a necessity, not because it's an asset, but it's comfortable for you to get from A to B. And that's really how you need to think about it. And the reason why is because, again, it's somewhat of keeping up with the Joneses. People see you in this like nice flashy car or this just nice regular car, and they're like, ooh, that looks really cool, or that looks really nice, the inside's really clean, and this and that. It's a thing that that people see, and it attracts them, and they're like, wow, like, this looks really nice. So you in turn have this kind of feeling about yourself, like, hey, I'm in this nice car, so everything's all good. But really, there's no value with the car. I mean, like, it's so expensive nowadays to get a new car and even a used car, like, especially if you go to a dealership or anywhere like that. And then those rates that you have to pay, those interest rates, just like the same thing with this little bugger right here, the little credit card. Like, you're paying interest rates on top of the money that you're paying for like a car note. And a lot of people, because they can't afford it, are taking those car notes and they're like not even just putting anything down. So a lot of people are just spreading it over 84 months or 72 months or whatever it is, because like they're trying to be able to afford the bill and get the bill down as much as possible. And again, if you need a car because you live in like Michigan, I get it. I understand. I am, and I understand why it may be a need. I am simply telling you that it is a liability. It is not something that that you really like truly need, like that you can't go without. It's just comfortable, and it helps you to get from A to B. But think about it. Like, yeah, you could sell a car back at the end of it, but I mean, like, it has to be in great condition after you put all these miles on, after you had all these years. I mean, again, you're spreading over what, 72, 84 months. So it has to be in good condition. The mileage has to be as low as you possibly can get it, like, few accidents and things like that. And that value is already like nothing. And if your goal is to get another car, which I'm assuming you're probably going to do because you probably got a car in the first place because you felt you needed it. So you probably feel you're going to need another car. So at that point, you're going to take that money and you're probably going to put it on a different car. What value is that? That value is not going to grow over time. That value is not going to help you out in the long run. It's not going to do anything for you. All a car is basically a vacuum on wheels. It sucks up all your money. It takes up money because you have to, invest in like parts to be able to get it done. You have to be able to put gas in the car. You have to be able to get your car oil changes. You have to do all that stuff. And unless like you're Mr. or Mrs. Handyman, then I mean like you're going to be shipping out a lot of money, not just for the fact that there's like taxes on the car because like on your car note you're actually paying out more interest rate wise than what you think you are. Not and not just because of the fact that you have to like still pay off like put gas in the car to get from A to B, but because the maintenance on it is just crazy. I mean, really, all of your money is just getting expended, and it totally trumps the idea of you actually making something valuable from your vehicle. Other than again, bragging rights and the idea that you will safely and comfortably get to work on the time that you need to get to it. So, I mean, that's really what it is. It really just kind of chomps down your finances. So let's get into a really big um, liability here. One that I would say is arguably one of the biggest. And I would say that this and one other one that I'm going to bring up are going to be like some of the biggest liabilities that we're going to talk about here. But mortgage and houses, that is one of your biggest liabilities. Again, just like a car, I can't pick up a house right now and put it in front of you and show you, ooh, the house. It's a liability. I can't do that. But you get the point. The house is a liability because mortgage is crazy. You get this and it's a very toxic one. And the reason why it's toxic is because like there's this misconception that has been created, within society, even with you growing up, that your parents are like, oh, you have to create a foundation for your family, a home with all this remodel and all this stuff done, and things like that. And really all it is just money, money, money going out the window. The only way that can even remotely be somewhat of an asset, and really, to be honest, this is not even a liquid asset. This is pretty much illiquid in my opinion, is if like you do like an Airbnb, which is when you like take your house and you say, hey, and I mentioned this in another video, where you say, hey, I'm gonna like rent this out, and then like someone's gonna pay me money, and they're gonna spend the weekend there, and then like like I said, like they pay it, so that's like kind of like a hotel. Like unless you kind of like Airbnb it, I mean it's pretty much a liability. And again, that's a very like illiquid way to make some like residual income. And then real estate would be the other way, but again, for the most part, like that's not, for the most part, it's not that person's home. You're flipping kind of other people's homes in a way, and that still has some like okay, I'm not gonna say monitoring. Monitoring is not the word that I'm looking for, but that's still gonna need some maintenance in itself. Like you're still gonna have to monitor what is being done, and like the way you're like flipping your houses, and like and then the what you're doing. You really need to understand that the taxes on the mortgage and property taxes and things like that are going to kill you as far as like being a homeowner. Mind you, you got to have somewhere to live, you got to have somewhere to stay, you have to have somewhere to lay your head. But again, knowing those things does not separate it from the fact that it is a liability. We are talking finances here. Financially, it is stifling you. And again, the best way that you can even counter such a liability is to have an asset, because this thing, like being able to live somewhere, becomes a necessity because of the fact that you have to lay your head somewhere. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it is a liability, because you're getting taxed like crazy on that mortgage and you don't even know it. So again, you're going to be spending a whole lot of money in a very short term like manner. Like you're going to be spending money on things like repairs and things like that on top of your mortgage as well too. So that's going to be more money that's going to be on you. Now mind you, like there's some like write-offs that you can do here and there, but overall, like it's pretty much a liability, the home itself. And again, write-offs and Airbnb and things like that have nothing to do with the home itself and the mortgage from the home being a liability. So keep that in mind. And again, I do want to emphasize the fact that if you are in an apartment and mind you, I say this like with the not in the nicest possible way. If you are a person who currently lives in an apartment, you're probably spending even more money. So that's an even bigger liability. But understand that like having a mortgage and having a home is a total liability, and it's a total money drain right there. So let's go to this last one. And this is the one that we all know. And this is, I can't hold this one either because it's not a tangible thing that I can actually show you all. And it's one that plagues most people today, not even just like younger individuals or millennials or anything like that, but older individuals as well too. So like student loans. Student loans are the bane of everyone's existence. It makes you feel like school itself is a liability. Oh, did I just say that out loud? Anyway, so I feel as though student loans are just ridiculous. You pay all this money to go to school, right? And then when you get out of school, they're chasing you 6 months afterwards saying, oh, pay this off, pay this off. They don't care if you had a job yet. They don't care if you can't get one. And they don't even like try to consider the fact that a lot of you all are spending like a year or over trying to find a job, and you're living at your parents' home and you don't have anything. A lot of you all are doing that because a lot of you all have majors that weren't like allowing you to get a job immediately. And what I'm finding out is that that's like 90% of the majors that were out there in college, and you have to settle for a job that necessarily didn't have anything to do with what you studied while you were in school. So my point here is not to rant about the craziness of the education system, but just to say that student loans are a financial burden. And the thing that's frustrating about it is that you were thinking that you did it for a good cause because you were going to school, and then you got loans to be able to go to school, and then everything was all good. And once you got a job, you just paid them. But those taxes are going to kill you. Like they tax those loans like crazy. And the thing is that the loans, they are really they're the very thing that are causing all this stress and this worry amongst people. And you're thinking that it's for a greater good because it's to get an education, but that education system is not giving you knowledge on liabilities and assets. So it's not telling you that those loans are going to end up being a liability, nor is it giving you the assets in order to be able to offset this liability that it is about to haunt you like crazy. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So really, that's another thing that you just want to be careful of. So my message would be to like people who are younger, and my message to them is, if you are younger and you are about to go to school, I hope that you have a scholarship, or I hope you have some very generous parents or very wealthy parents who are generous, because it's going to be crazy. And you know, the average student loan rate at this point, and I can't make this up right now, is 65K for students, which is absolutely absurd. I mean, think about it. Like, student loans shouldn't even have to exist, because an education and the ability to want to learn should be free. But education has turned into a business. And now this business wants to stay in business by not telling you how to enhance your own business, the business of yourself, understanding the ideas of assets and liabilities. Now that's what's awful about it, is that you can't even offset that liability, because nobody is teaching you how to do it. So I don't want to be negative and sit here and say like don't go to school, but I do want to encourage you to like get some assets, because that liability is probably going to hit you probably worse than most of the other ones on this list. But anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to explain to you guys, is just like, you know, examples of liabilities and things like that. Didn't want to go into too far detail about some of these things. I just wanted to kind of help you visualize like this, and put into your mindset why these things could potentially be a liability, and just put you in that mindset that a lot of these things aren't as necessary as you think that they are. So again, I hope you guys have a good day. If you guys like what you heard today, feel free to subscribe to The Hustler's Perspective. If you want to actually see a written version of this video on my blog, feel free to go to my blog at thehustlersjackpot.com. If you would like to follow me on social networks, feel free to follow me at Instagram at The Hustler's Jackpot. If you would like to follow my personal page on Instagram, feel free to follow me at Cool Colas. And if you want to follow me or actually check out the latest and greatest details that happen on Facebook, then follow my Facebook page at The Hustler's Jackpot. You can just search it in your search bar and follow the page, and there's going to be a lot of updates coming there as well too if you're just not an Instagrammer. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you guys stay productive and start watching out for those liabilities and those things that are really hitting your pockets and you don't know. And I hope you guys are just end up being plentiful and wealthy and all this other great stuff. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day. See you later.